What is up, everybody? This is Adam. Welcome back to Fouled Out. I am back in the world's most boring room recording this week's episode of the podcast. The room will be fun again. The studio will be fun again after the renovation is done, I swear. But for now, it is all white everything, a very boring backdrop if you are watching us on YouTube. Matt is going to be joining me in just a moment to go over our updated power poll for the NFL season. Just as a reminder, we are dropping our top 5 and bottom 5 teams every 4 weeks this season. So this is going to be poll number 2. We'll talk about how things have changed since the first poll 4 weeks ago. And I can absolutely guarantee you that Matt and I are not going to agree on who the best team in the NFL is. Mostly because I didn't say the Detroit Lions. But I'll be really interested to see where Matt has my number 1 team, because I have a brand new number 1 after 8 weeks of football. But before we bring Matt on, we're going to talk a little bit of baseball at the top of the podcast, as we have done throughout the MLB playoffs. Last week, I did a segment about Shohei Ohtani and about him being a true unicorn in sports in that amazing game he had against the Brewers where he pitched and hit 3 home runs. And during that segment, I talked about who the equivalents in other sports are, and unicorns in hockey and football and all of that. And right after I recorded that, I went and watched a Spurs game and watched Victor Wembanyama and realized that I fucked that segment up. So my apologies to Victor Wembanyama, because I did a segment about unicorns in sports and did not talk about one of the freakiest athletes that I have ever seen on any playing surface. Like, if you have not watched Victor Wembanyama this year, it is a transcendent experience if you are a basketball fan. This dude is 7'6", handles the ball like a guard, shoots like a guard. Matt will probably bring this up later when we do our NBA takes at the end of the podcast, but there was a game the other day where the Spurs defensive rating with Victor Wembanyama on the floor was 53, which is absolutely bonkers. And without him on the floor, it was like 135. So 80 points worse without him on the floor. Like, the Spurs are 4-0, and it is because he is an absolute force, especially on the defensive end. Like, he may already be the best defensive basketball player I have ever seen in my life. And he's still getting better. Like, he's still getting his legs under him. And it's not like it's not all skill yet. Like, the skill is still developing, which is the scary part. It's just the freakish proportions of his body, like 7'6" with just an absolutely massive wingspan. And there's almost no way to get around him. Like, it's really insane to watch. So the fact that he is that dynamic on defense, and then offensively, he's scoring over 30 points per game to start the season. Like, we're at a point where this is year 3 Victor Wembanyama, and he might already be a top 5 player in the NBA. And the Spurs might be a contender just because they have him. Like, we're maybe already at that point where he's just one of those dudes where it's like, last week I said the Thunder and the Nuggets are the only 2 true contenders, and that series is going to determine who wins the NBA championship. And I still believe that for the most part. The only caveat I would have is that the Spurs may actually be contenders this year because of how freakish Victor Wembanyama is. So my apologies to Victor for not including him in the unicorns conversation, because he is a true one of one. When I was a kid, my dad used to buy packages to the Pistons games where you could pick 5 games out of 20 or something like that. And we would pick guys who were coming to Detroit that we wanted to see. So like the Sacramento Kings, Tracy McGrady, Allen Iverson, those type of guys. Victor Wembanyama might be the first NBA player since I was like 15 years old. So it's been about 20 years. He might be the first NBA player in the last 20 years where I'm like, if he's going to play when he's in Detroit, I might actually have to get tickets and go. Like, I might have to make an entire special trip just to see Victor Wembanyama and get tickets, because it is that freakish on TV, and I can't imagine what the experience is like live. So I'll keep you posted. They only come here once a year, and Matt and I actually tried to go see Steph Curry one time because I guess, that was another guy I really wanted to see. And we bought tickets to a Warriors game when they had the Splash Brothers. And the day of the game, the Warriors announced that Steph, Clay, and Draymond Green would all be sitting. And Jordan Poole came and dropped like 40 on the Pistons, but I had COVID, so I couldn't go. So I guess I take that back. Steph Curry was worth the price of admission. I'm sure for a lot of you, LeBron was too. But for me, I have not, I've been to a couple Pistons games to see like the Kings and some other stuff, but I have not gotten off my ass to see a specific player in a basketball game in a long time. And Victor Wembanyama might be that dude. On the baseball front, World Series is tied 2-2. The Blue Jays and the Dodgers. I'm just going to say I told you so, that this was not going to be a walkover for the Dodgers. I took Dodgers in 6. So for me to be right, they would have to win the next 2. And I don't think that's going to happen now. I don't think either team wins the next 2. I think this is going 7 in the Rogers Center in Toronto. And man, like I think about this during the World Series every year, is that the environment of the World Series is so different from like finals environments of any other sport. Like the Super Bowl is epic because it's the Super Bowl, but it's played at a neutral field. Hockey's awesome, basketball is awesome, but like the World Series just has this like nostalgic kind of historic feel to it. And I think you could really see that in that 18 inning game the other day, where it's like, this is now the longest or second longest baseball game that's ever been played in the World Series. And the World Series has been going on since like 1901 or something like that, something crazy. There's just this, I don't know, there's this like cinematic kind of feel to these games. And you watch the highlights, or, when you watch the game or you watch the highlights and you see like Shohei Ohtani hit a home run and the crowd's reaction is absolutely bonkers. Like, I don't feel like you get that in other sports, right? Like there's more people there than go to a hockey game. I don't know that a lot of basketball games, you really get that moment where all eyes are on this dude and he delivers and the fans are just going absolutely bonkers. Like there's something different about the World Series, which like is really important for baseball, because baseball has really suffered at the hands of NBA and NFL as far as viewership is concerned. I feel like Ohtani being on a good team and being in the World Series is getting a lot of eyes back on baseball, especially internationally. And that him being in now a good World Series, he was in a World Series I loved last year where they beat the shit out of the Yankees, but this World Series being epic and him doing what he's doing, like reaching base 8 times the other day, including hitting 2 homers, one to tie the game, and like a ripped an RBI double that tied the game. And he's just been phenomenal. Like I know the game that he pitched, game 4, wasn't spectacular and he wasn't that great at the plate, but like he has been on a tear this postseason. And to have such a unique, special player doing what he's doing and getting all the eyes back on baseball, I think is really good for the sport. And I'm sure a lot of you are sitting there and you're like, Adam, there's this, Dame hit a buzzer beater over Paul George and the fans went crazy and blah, blah, blah. But there's just something cinematic about baseball that's just different from other sports. So I've really enjoyed the World Series so far. I did not stay up for the 18 inning game. 2018, when the Red Sox were playing the Dodgers in the playoffs, they also played an 18 inning game. And even though that was my team, I fell asleep on my couch probably in the 12th or 13th inning, was like 1 a.m. And I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning and saw the game was still on. And I was like, oh shit, it must be a replay. I wonder who won. I looked at my phone only to realize the game was still going at 3:30 in the morning Eastern time. So I stayed up and watched the end. I think it was like in the 17th inning or something. And of course, the Red Sox end up losing in 18, the only game they lost in that World Series. They won every other one. But you don't get stuff like that in other sports. And it was pretty cool. So enjoy the World Series. By the time this podcast comes out on the 30th, October 30th, the game 5 will have already happened. I'm going to be watching it while we're recording with Matt. So good luck to both teams. I don't really care who wins. I'd like the Dodgers to win the next two just for the sake of being right. But Toronto's been an awesome story this year, and even though they're in my division, I don't hate them, especially because they have Vlad Guerrero Jr., who I love. So that said, remember, you can reach out to us, fouledoutsports@gmail.com. Really appreciate you guys listening or watching on YouTube. Hit us up, talk college football, hockey, anything we don't talk about on the podcast that you want to get our opinions on or share your opinions on. Send us an email. Really love hearing from you guys and really appreciate your support. Check us out on YouTube, Fouled Out Sports. Go like and subscribe to that channel. Help us grow that there. Really appreciate that. And now with all of that out of the way, let's grab Matt. We're going to talk about who the best 5 and the worst 5 teams in the NFL are after 8 weeks. And then we're going to get to some trade buzz and what we want to see our teams do at Tuesday's NFL trade deadline. They moved it back, which was a really good idea. So let's grab Matt and let's go. All right, Matt is here. At what used to be the halfway point in the NFL season. Now it's next week, technically, because there's 18 weeks, including the bye. So after 9 is the halfway point. But unfortunately,
the NFL is
almost there.
Fuck being able to nicely divide this season up.
I started thinking, like, what are we going to do for the podcast this week? And I was like, oh, like mid-season awards and like takeaways and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, is it it's not mid-season. Teams have, like halfway through this week, they will have played half their games, I guess. So we will do that next week, mid-season awards and takeaways. This week, we are going to talk about our updated power rankings, the top 5 and the bottom 5 teams in the NFL. There will be some disagreements today, vehement ones, but we'll get to those when we get to those. And then we're going to talk a little bit of trade news, buzz, stuff like that at the end of the podcast. So, Matt, you want to lead us off with who your top 5 teams are? And I'll tell you where I'm different.
Yeah. You want me to start at 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd count down.
At 5, I have the Seattle Seahawks. Defense has been awesome. Offense has been very, very efficient. It checks out on both sides of the ball with DVOA. Honestly, I could have them higher, but I'm not all the way in on a Sam Darnold-led team.
Yeah.
4, this is where I feel like the numbers kind of go out the window. It's Kansas City. I mean, they finally got traction. Patrick Mahomes has actually started to look better. The inaccuracies that I was seeing early on in the season, I feel like I'm seeing less of it. Or at least when it is happening, it's maybe in less high leverage situations. But they're also getting healthier. I mean, they got Worthy back. And they got Rashee Rice back from suspension. Nowhere near long enough of an suspension, given what actually happened. But I mean, I don't know anyone that is looking at them and saying that this team isn't gonna have something to say about who wins the Super Bowl. Number 3, the LA Rams. That defensive line just continues to be an absolute nightmare for anyone who plays it. Stafford is, again, still playing extremely well this year. Overall, just it's been a very efficient offense. And even with Puka Nacua missing some time, that addition of Devontae Adams has proven to be pivotal for them because Stafford has another guy that he can funnel targets to now. Number two, the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, all of the advanced metrics love everything that they are doing. Uh, I eye test still checks out. Although definitely saw early in that Colts game. A lot, a lot of Daniel Jones' throws were just kind of wide open. So I am curious how much of that was happening in earlier games as well. But they are taking care of business on what they have. And honestly, if I trusted Daniel Jones more, they'd probably be number one. But I saw what he did for a long enough period of time that I am not. I'm most of the way there. I'm not all the way in yet. And number one overall, the Detroit Lions. Um, they were my number one team in the first power rankings that we did. Yes, they lost to the Chiefs since then. However, as of right now, the Lions are ranked number one in DVOA. And one thing that over his now going on 5 years in Detroit that Dan Campbell has repeatedly done as well, if not better than any other coach in the NFL, is self scout during the bye week. It's hard not to look at this team and not expect that offense to get a little bit more consistent coming out of the bye.
Yeah, so we have the same 5 teams, but mine are in a different order. I also had the Seahawks number 5. I had the Rams number 4, and I actually initially had the Seahawks number 4, and then I looked at it and I was like, who is winning a playoff game between Matthew Stafford and Sam Darnold? And can I have Sam Darnold ahead of Matt Stafford when I think these teams are so close? I need to see it when it counts out of Sam Darnold. I have the Colts number 3. And I hate to tell you this, but the Colts have passed the Lions in DVOA now. So the Colts are number 1 in DVOA, number 1 in net EPA per play. All the advanced stats.
Are you saying total DVOA?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was specifically saying number 1 and defense for DVOA for the Lions.
Oh, okay. So total DVOA, Indy's number 1. They're number 1 in net EPA per play. But I asked myself the same question with Kansas City and with the Colts. Is as good as the Colts have been on paper, if they are playing Kansas City in the playoffs, who is winning that game when Daniel Jones is on one side of the ball and Patrick Mahomes is on the other? I can't bring myself to be like, yeah, the Colts should be the favorite in the AFC because Daniel Jones is still their quarterback, as good as he's been. Then I have the Lions number 2 and Kansas City. Unfortunately, I have Kansas City as the number 1 team in the NFL again, for a few reasons. So they've been on a heater the last 6. They're 5-1 and they're outscoring their opponents 29.3 to 12.8. And in that time, they played the Detroit Lions and they played the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson and held both those offenses in check. I really think the scariest thing for people who are rooting against the Kansas City Chiefs this season is that Patrick Mahomes is putting up Patrick Mahomes-like numbers again. So for all of you who looked at the last couple of years and said, you know what? I think that Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback in the league anymore because he hasn't put up the statistical seasons that Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and guys of that ilk have. He is currently on pace to throw for 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, and then run for another 600 yards and another 8 touchdowns. I did this segment on the podcast a couple of weeks ago when I was in Mexico. He's on pace to have a better year than Josh Allen did last year when Josh Allen won the MVP. Like,
I mean, there are those that would tell you that Josh Allen should have won the MVP, but
yeah, that's fair.
I'm not gonna, say whether or not I agree with that, but
that's fair. But I'm just throwing it out there that like I felt like I was
really
kind
well
of
right now.
Well, I was kind of on an island earlier this year doing quarterback rankings where a lot of people, including some people on this podcast, put Josh Allen as the number 1 quarterback in the NFL.
Okay.
And
do you remember why I did that though?
Because it's something, I don't know, you were high. You're drunk when you're doing rankings.
Literally in this season, Patrick Mahomes was missing throws. Like, his throws were not catchable. And that was the thing where I was like, that's a problem. I am
never going to do it because this
is what happens. He is firmly back to number 1.
As what happens is he fixes it like 3 weeks later, and it's like, yes, that, you don't feel as good about the rankings anymore. I did this. I hate comparing Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. But what I will say is that I will never move Patrick off of the number 1 spot until he's basically gone, because I had to do this with Tom Brady for 20 years as a Patriots fan, where it was like, oh, Tom Brady's the best quarterback in the league. And people were like, no, it's Peyton Manning. And it was like, no, it's Tom Brady. And then people are like, oh, it's Aaron Rodgers, or it's Drew Brees, or it's Ben Roethlisberger, or Phillip Rivers, or, oh, look, all these guys are putting up better statistical seasons than Brady. And then Brady just keeps winning and winning and winning. And then all of a sudden the stats are like backing it up, where it's like, oh, Tom Brady threw 50 touchdowns. Oh, Tom Brady threw for 36 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Oh, Tom Brady threw for another 5,000 yards. Like, I won't do it with Patrick because I lived it for 20 years of watching people say like, oh, hey, this fucking loser over here in Green Bay who can't win anything, but except like he gets MVPs and puts up stats, he's better than Tom Brady. And he never was. He never was. And I felt like that was the same thing I was seeing with Mahomes this season, where I'm like, this guy has 3 Super Bowls and he's been to 5. And you guys want to say Josh Allen, who's a perennial loser when it matters, is better than him. So, but I think that's like the scary thing now is like, not only are the Chiefs getting hot and winning games, but Patrick Mahomes is putting up Patrick Mahomes-like stats. And I will tell you, I underestimated the impact that Rashee Rice would have immediately coming back from his suspension. Like, it wasn't so much the suspension, but the fact that he also ended last year with like a major leg injury or knee injury.
He missed almost the entire year.
Yeah, he missed so he hadn't played football in a full calendar year. He was coming off an injury. He had been suspended. I thought it was going to take more time for him to get ingratiated in this offense. And he has looked really good, like immediately. He has 150.
That first week back, they really went out of their way to get him like those easy touches to kind of get him back in the groove. But I was impressed with how quickly they were able to kind of get him like on time, on task with the offense that he hadn't been with for the past 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the thing is like, so they look a lot better with him now that he's back. And I think that that's only going to get better. But they've played really well. And Unfortunately I watched them beat your team on Sunday Night
Yeah.
Football, and I can't, like, in good conscience, having just watched that 3 weeks ago, put the Lions ahead of Kansas City right now. Like, I just saw it.
No, I mean I get that. Also, if I'm gonna do power rankings for a season, like for me personally, I'm not gonna wash away all of the flaws that I saw earlier in the season, right? Like that tape is still out there. You know, with Detroit, it's just man, like they just constantly get better every year as the season goes on. And I mean, there were a lot of people that were singing a lot of doom and gloom for Detroit after that Kansas City game, and especially the defense, specifically the defense, even. And we saw that, like, again, like Detroit hasn't lost two in a row in like 3 years, right? Nobody responds to their own failures quite as well as this team does.
I just think it's funny that you could go on the road and lose to Kansas City, who has been to, like, what is it, like 6 of the last 7 Super Bowls or 5 of the last 7 or whatever it is, who has Patrick Mahomes and, like, is undeniably one of the 5 best teams in the NFL. And people are like, God, the sky's falling. And it's like, no, you lost on the road to a really good team. And
Yeah.
like, you can watch that tape and get better from it.
Yeah. Also, like, a team that 2 years ago, back in 2023, they also went on the road and beat, right? So, like, at least the core of that team, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really, the way I look at it is that these teams are 1-1 against each other. Not this year, but
I know, but every season is so different that I'm not going to take a result from a couple of years ago and, like, that doesn't matter to me at this point. But my bigger concern with that game was not, like, you know, it was a 13-point game. You can make the argument that Jared Goff touchdown should have counted, you know, whatever. But the Lions only ran for 98 yards in that game, and that's, like, very un-Lions like. So that's where I was more, like, impressed with Kansas City, is I was like, oh, they're actually, like, holding good offenses in check now. Their one loss in their last 6 games is that super weird Monday Night Football loss to the Jags, and maybe losing to the Jags should be enough for me to just be like, this is not a top 5 team in the league. But if it's not for that 99-yard pick 6 by Devin Lloyd, then the Chiefs are 6-0 in their last 6, and they're, like, really, really rolling.
Be fair here too, like, we're kind of splitting hairs, right? When you get down to the top 2 teams, the 2 teams that I picked to go to the Super Bowl before the season, and I mean, I don't know where you're sitting right now, but it's kind of what I expect to be at the end of the season now at this point anyways.
Yeah, I look at this and I think the same thing. My biggest problem with this season now is, like, you know, as a Patriots fan, I obviously don't want the Chiefs breaking any of our records, anything like that. I get sick of the same team going over and over again, which I know is extremely ironic for me to say as a Patriots fan. But I just don't see who is stopping the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC right now. I think the competition, like, if you were like, hey, pick a Super Bowl, I agree. I would pick Chiefs Lions right now. But I think the competition in the NFC is much, much fiercer than what the Chiefs are going to face in the AFC. I power rank the entire league. I know you only did 5 and 5, but, like, I have 3 NFC teams in the top 5. The 3 we talked about: Lions, Rams, Seahawks. In the top 10, I also have, like, the Packers, the Eagles, and the Bucks in there. So that's, you know, 6 of my top 10 are NFC teams. that's almost your entire playoff field. And then the 49ers are down there somewhere. I have the 49ers 15, so like middle of the league. But that's 6 of the 7 teams that are going to make the NFC playoffs I have as top 10 teams in the NFL right now. So I think it's going to be tougher on the Lions to get out of that because like you know, even if you get the 1 seed, your playoffs could look something like I don't know, like Green. You got to beat like how many games you got to win at that point? 2. You got to beat like the Seahawks and then the Eagles or something like that, and that's going to be a lot harder than the Chiefs who have to face like the Colts and the Bills or something. And I don't like that. I wanted to put the Colts as my number 1 team because the paper says I should, but and I know we do this every single week, like literally on this podcast, and we will continue to do this every single week. Like last week, we just did the "Are the Colts good?" segment, and we're like, yes, they're good. Daniel Jones is their quarterback, and I think we saw this with Sam Darnold and the Vikings last year. That like these guys can get you through 15 weeks, right? And then like Sam Darnold completely unraveled at the end of last season. And I'm just like still waiting for like Cinderella. I'm still waiting for it to turn back into a pumpkin, the carriage to turn back into a pumpkin, right? Where like Daniel Jones just has a game where he throws for like 140 yards and 3 interceptions and the Colts lose. And it's like, yeah, that's what I've been waiting for this entire season. And
and like they don't really have a ton of challenges on their schedule left, so it's one of those things where like I could totally see them rolling into the playoffs at like 14-3. You know?
Yeah, but I think they will. I think they're gonna get the 1 seed by a decent margin.
Yeah.
Right.
Did I luck into that division pick?
No, there's no luck. It was a really good, well thought out pick. Nobody, like picking the Colts to win the division.
I'm a well-known Daniel Jones believer.
Picking the Colts to win the division is one thing. Like, but if you had gotten on that podcast and been like, I think the Colts are going to be the 1 seed in the AFC this year, I would have canceled the podcast right there. I'm like, nope. I would have hit the little X on your box on Riverside, and we would have just banished Matt to the Shadow Realm. Top 5. I guess bottom 5 teams. Top 5 worst teams. Bottom 5 good teams. I'll give you my list, and then let me know where you disagree. Number 5, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. I really thought they could escape this bottom 5. They moved up 3 spots, and I was like, they're going to make it. And then they lost to the Jets, and I was like, I don't feel like I can put them ahead of the Jets. So I have the Bengals at 5. I have the Giants at 4. And it's not really fair to the Giants, but because I think they're better than this. But now with the loss of Cam Scatterboo, and like now so Neighbors is gone and Scatterboo's gone, I'm like, it's going to start getting really hard for them to find offense eventually. So I put them a little lower just based on my projection of them. And then the bottom 3, Saints, Raiders, and then Team 32. This team might be the only team that does not move at all in my rankings this year. The Tennessee Titans are just like a deplorable watch. What's your list? I'm assuming you have the Titans at 32 as well.
Yeah, we have the same bottom 3 in that order: Saints, Raiders, Titans. At 5, I have the Jets. They certainly could have been lower had they not finally pulled off a win.
Did you see Aaron Glenn's post-game locker room speech?
I have not.
Oh my God. Do you?
I imagine that it is something to behold.
No, I mean, it was fine, but like, I guess two questions. One, how do you feel about the rising popularity of the post-game locker room speech? Because I see these on like Reddit and TikTok every week, and I'm like, dude, we are like 2 years away from having the scripted WWE backstage segments for NFL. I'm like, this is where this is going with backstage content.
I just don't feel like every win needs that speech to be publicized. You know? Like I totally get like circumstantially like it would make sense why they would want that, right? But like how many games are every week? 13, right? 13 of those coming out every week waters them down.
And like anything else in life, oversaturation is like the death of all good things, where it's like, you know, you might see like in the past, like even last year, it was like you might see like one post-game locker room speech from Dan Campbell and you're like, wow, that was awesome. Like a particularly good one after a huge win. And you're like, oh, that was cool. Like, I love Dan Campbell. And now it's like, why do I have to watch Aaron Glenn after the Jets win their first game this season go and like congratulate the team? You know, his speech specifically, what I was going to tell you, and please, everybody listening to this, keep in mind that the Jets won this game 39-38. Aaron Glenn runs into the locker room and goes, "How about that defense? Yeah, defense." It's like, you just gave up 38 points and 181 rushing yards to the Cincinnati Bengals. Why are we starting with the defense? You got one? Stop.
Knowing Aaron Glenn, I guarantee you, he is talking about situationally getting the stop that they needed.
They got one stop the entire game. Literally.
Which is one more than they've gotten in every other game this year.
It was one more than the Bengals got on Sunday, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me who your number 4 team is, and then
number 4 is the Browns.
Okay, I got an apology I got to issue when you're done.
Yeah. I mean, the offense is a shit show. Dylan Gabriel has been rough after that first showing where no one had any tape on him, right? It's a mess. The defense is still pretty good, but like there's some holes here and there popping up a little bit more. And then there's yes, Myles Garrett just put up 5 sacks in a game, but then he showed you like exactly why. We can get into it more later, but like why he's not what you build your culture around. And I just imagine that it's only going to continue to devolve as the season goes on.
Yeah, I watched Cleveland on Sunday against my team, and so the Patriots have played 8 games so far this season. Do you want to guess how many first drive touchdowns we've allowed this year?
0?
No, 7.
7? Oh,
yeah. God. Oh, yeah. 10, and to the Titans and the Browns.
I knew it was either all of them or none of them.
It's either all or nothing. No, we've allowed like I forget exactly what it is, but I think it's like a first drive touchdown in 7 of 8 games so far this season. And then after that, like, done. That's it. Yeah. But Dylan Gabriel came out and went like 5 for 5 for 65 yards and a touchdown their first drive on Sunday. And I was like, oh no, don't do this to me.
Yeah.
The Dylan Gabriel game. And then we completely shut them down after that. But Harold Fannin was like just open against our defense that first drive. So that was kind of hilarious. But okay, so you had Jets, Browns, and then Saints, Raiders, Titans.
Correct.
I have Bengals, Giants, Saints, Raiders, Titans. I owe an apology to the Cincinnati Bengals organization and the greater Cincinnati area, and basically just anybody who enjoys Skyline Chili. Last week on the podcast, we talked about the Bengals with Joe Flacco, and I basically guaranteed that this team was going to be 5-4 at the bye. That I was like, they're going to beat the Jets, they're going to beat the Bears, they're going to be 5-4 at the bye. We're going to be feeling good. I like them with Flacco. And to be fair, Joe Flacco was good again on Sunday. He had a good game. And one of my big arguments for Flacco was I thought he would open up the run game by throwing deep and making the adjustments at the line. The Bengals ran for a season high 181 yards. The offense was good. The thing I forgot about is that coming into the season, we discussed ad nauseum that the Bengals defense might be like the worst defense we have ever seen. And it hadn't really reared its head that much this season. But the last 2 weeks against Pittsburgh and then the Jets on Sunday, this is why I had the Bengals here. The Jets scored 39 points. You know how many yards the Jets had on Sunday?
I would imagine it was probably around like 400.
502. 502 yards to Justin Fields and the New York Jets.
Put some respect on his name.
Wow. The Justin Fields believers are eating this week. They are feasting off of this one. They are sending clips of Justin Fields in this game and saying, I told you so. Justin Fields is a starting quarterback in the NFL. Man, I forgot. I don't know how I forgot that how deplorable that defense is. But man, that was an all-timer on Sunday. Breece Hall absolutely annihilated the Cincinnati Bengals almost single-handedly. Ran for 2 touchdowns, like 150 yards, threw another touchdown, like went absolute ham in what might be a showcase game to get him traded at the deadline on Tuesday. But
it's that situation's weird because he and Aaron Glenn publicly have stated that like they want him to stay. But like all the rumors kept being like, yeah, he's gonna get traded.
Yeah.
And then everyone's talking about how like that's the game that's gonna get traded. And now there's rumors that they're like hesitant about trading him. I'm like, well, I don't know how much they wanted to trade him in the first place.
They cannot not trade him.
Depends on what you're being offered. Are you trading him for a 5th round pick?
He's a free agent this summer. You're gonna sign him if you're the Jets. You're gonna pay that guy.
I would imagine you're probably getting at least a 4th round comp pick back if you don't sign him.
If there's a comp pick coming back, then that's one thing I would at least hold out for, like whatever the comp pick is. But they absolutely, they're talking about re-signing him long term right now for this team that is awful and trying to rebuild. You 100% unequivocally cannot spend money on a running back right now if you are the New York Jets. You cannot sign Breece Hall to a long-term deal. That's fucking asinine. The comp pick I get, I'll grant you that, but holy shit, if the Jets give Breece Hall a long-term deal, I will lose it on this podcast.
If they're not getting a comp pick back for him, then there's no reason to not sign him back.
I mean, paying a running back would be enough reason to not sign him back. You trade him now.
No, like, essentially what that is like, if they're not spending the money, right, and because they're not going to go out and be, at least knock on wood, be big buyers in free agency, right? So then theoretically, you should be getting a solid comp pick back for him, unless teams aren't offering him good money, in which case you're just getting him at a huge bargain. So at that point, yeah, if you can get Breece Hall for $7 million a year, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's fair, but I just don't see that happening with Breece Hall, right? Like, so
No, so then the alternative is you getting a third or fourth round comp pick.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless someone's offering you a third for him.
If you could just get the pick now, I trade him and don't fuck with it this summer. I think if Breece Hall ending up on the Jets next year is a loss for the Jets. I know, like, oh yeah, we're going to get him at a bargain deal, but you're still spending more money on a running back, which is just completely unnecessary at this point. I don't like it. Can we talk about Tennessee for a minute?
Do we have to? It's so depressing.
I didn't think it could get worse than Brian Callahan. When they fired him, I was like, it can't get worse. And I will say they played the Patriots and the Colts their last two games since firing Callahan. Two teams of which I somehow have them in the top 10. I have the Patriots in the top 10. I ended up with the Patriots top 10 in my power rankings, just specifically on the fact that I absolutely refuse to rank them lower than the Buffalo Bills. Like, I'm not. We beat them in Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. I'm not putting us below the Buffalo Bills. So the Patriots ended up at 8 in my power rankings. They've been outscored 69, nice, to 27 in 2 games since firing Brian Callahan. They have just been absolutely horrible since firing him. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. They play the Chargers this week, and then they have the Texans and the Seahawks. Like,
yeah,
this is going to get painful for the Tennessee Titans. They're the worst team in the NFL. They're going to get
the number 1 pick again.
PFF had them as the 28th best team in the NFL. I was like, how could you watch the Titans and say that there are worse teams?
All the more reason why I don't really take any of PFF's grades or rankings with any credibility.
I'm just like, yeah, I don't know how you could watch the Tennessee Titans and say that that's not the worst team in the NFL. Like, what redeeming quality do the Titans have? They have Jeffrey Simmons, who they might trade.
Yeah. Who hasn't been playing lately.
Yeah. So, it's not good. Trade deadline this Tuesday, November 4th at 4 p.m. They moved the deadline back, which I like, so it's like after 9 weeks of football now instead of, it used to be like after 4 weeks. And I was like, well, how does anybody know if they're going to buy or sell after 4 weeks? It's so hard to tell. Now it's halfway through the season. Aiden Hutchinson signs a 4-year, $180 million contract today with, like, what was it, $141 million guaranteed?
Yeah.
I texted you my opinion that Aiden Hutchinson is the type of player where you pay him and then you thank him for the honor of letting you pay him, basically.
Yeah. Well, and it's a deal that is, the structure of it makes it really easy for them to manipulate it and restructure it later to create more cap room down the road. So
yeah, I don't care if it's not. I don't care if it's not. You pay Aiden Hutchinson.
But like that's the difference here is like that they are setting this up to keep the studs that they keep drafting. And that's how you make this all pay off.
Yeah. So I'm sure, I know you're excited about that. What else are you hoping that the Lions do before Tuesday's trade deadline?
I don't know that there's anything I'd like them to do that is realistic. In an ideal world, I would love for them to find a way to get some capable depth at offensive tackle just because of what's been going on with Taylor Decker's shoulder. I don't know if he's going to have to sit down for a few weeks again or not. Um, and Manu's on IR right now, so that would really just leave Skipper uh, as the depth. And but that's the NFL. Every team needs that. Like
Yeah.
the teams that are in sell mode are kind of like, well, actually, we want more depth. So,
The teams that are in sell mode are often in sell mode because they don't have offensive line depth to trade away. You're not on the like, let's trade multiple picks for Trey Hendrickson team,
no,
right? Okay.
no, that's stupid.
I've heard a little bit of that. I think like
Yeah,
on my side, the Pats traded away Keon White and Kyle Duggar
yeah,
for basically for late round picks. Like it's weird. They traded Keon White and a 7th for a 6, but the 7th is conditional, and then like same thing with the Kyle
yep,
Duggar trade. So they re-signed or they extended Marcus Jones, the nickel corner, slot corner. So it seems like some of that was like to clear the space for next year to pay Marcus Jones, but also we have like more cap space than any other team in the league over the next couple of years. So I don't know. I feel like they are clearing spots to bring someone in by Tuesday. And I know there's a lot of Patriot fans who want that player to be AJ Brown. That is unequivocally not happening for the Patriots. That if AJ Brown gets traded, his dead cap hit is like
yeah,
$60 million and like 45 next year or something insane. So it'd be absolutely asinine to trade him away at this point.
yeah. I saw an article posted on Reddit that was, I think it was like the fantasy football chat subreddit that was saying that like the Eagles are like quietly looking into if they can trade him.
Yeah,
I'm
I was
like,
like,
no, I guarantee you they're not because they're so fucked financially if they do.
it was like Pelissaro was like,
Yeah,
oh, the Eagles are taking calls or like they're shopping AJ Brown without officially shopping AJ Brown. Like they're not fucking shopping AJ Brown.
no,
Howie Roseman's a good GM. That is absolutely like if he is traded by Tuesday, I will be Luka Doncic trade levels of stunned that you would trade away. Like if he gets traded by Tuesday, things in that locker room must be so much more toxic than we have heard of
yeah,
with AJ Brown. And what I love to have him, of course, I love AJ Brown. I know he loves the Patriots. He loves Vrabel. I would love to have him. The one thing I worry about with like the trade deadline coming up is at least offensively for us, and I know this sounds kind of stupid, but they're in such a good groove right now, and everybody has such a well-defined role, and they play for each other, and they do all this stuff that like I kind of don't want to upset what's going on. But on the other hand, we have Diggs and Booty who have both been amazing at wide receiver this season, but not much at wide receiver beyond that. So I don't expect us to do anything big. I think if we could add like a smaller pass rusher like Arden Key from the Tennessee Titans would be nice. There's been some rumors about like a reunion with Jacoby Myers, who now the Raiders are like, we might not trade him. We might trade him, blah, blah, blah. Someone like Van Jefferson also from the Titans could be interesting
yeah.
to add to our receiver core, like another deep threat. But that's kind of more what I expect is that like
Mm-hmm.
Duggar and Keon White do not fit the scheme. They're not playing.
Yeah,
So we cleared
I've
space
got
for
to
something
imagine
small.
Shaheed is going somewhere. But
I would like to have Shaheed. I just think that might be like this is the thing about the NFL trade deadline. Rashid Shaheed might be the best player who gets traded.
Yeah.
By Tuesday. Brees Hall and Trey Hendrickson could both get traded, I guess. I think Hendrickson with the new extension probably has a pretty nasty dead cap hit on the Bengals, but that like those guys could get traded, but it's way more likely that like Shaheed is going to be the best player traded. And I don't understand trade value in the NFL. I think that's pretty clear. So Shaheed could be the best player who gets traded, and the Saints could get a second, or the Saints could get a 6. And I don't know which one it's going to be. But for the right price, I mean, I say this about all my teams all the time. For the right price, I would love to have that guy. Yeah. Although, like, it's weird because a couple weeks ago, I was like, God, we really need a deep threat. And then it turned out that Kayshon Boutte is the most efficient deep threat in the NFL right now. So I'm like, okay. But like another burner it's never hurt anybody. The other
is Boutte the most efficient deep threat in the NFL, or is Drake May just the best deep ball thrower in the NFL?
100% the latter.
Yeah.
100% the latter, because every deep ball is a dot.
Yeah.
It is an absolute dot. I'm like, man. So Drake May has
been in an absolute zone.
He is. He's so good. He's so good. He got sacked 5 times, or he got sacked 6 times on Sunday, and threw one of the worst interceptions you will see, and still put up 30 points against DVOA's number 5 defense.
Yeah.
In the Cleveland Browns. And they could have put up more, and they took their foot off the gas near the end. As far as trade deadline stuff goes, I saw, those rumors like a week or two ago that Brian Thomas Jr. might get traded.
Mm-hmm.
That talk about asinine. Like, for a dude that flashed what he flashed near the end of the year last year, I know it hasn't worked well this year, but no way you trade. Like, that's my dream trades for the Patriots would be like AJ Brown and Brian Thomas Jr. But I'm probably going to get Van Jefferson and Arden Key and be like, okay, this is good. This is good. All right, Bolds and Scolds. Week 8 of the NFL season. It is my week to go first. My bold is Colts running back Jonathan Taylor. I honestly, I don't really know where to start on Jonathan Taylor. So he scored 3 touchdowns against Tennessee on Sunday, which is his 4th game of 3 or more touchdowns this season already. You may note the Colts have played 8 games, so he has scored 3 touchdowns in half of their games so far this year. He has 1,056 scrimmage yards and 14 total touchdowns in 8 games. So he is on pace to have 2,244 yards and 30 touchdowns. The record for most touchdowns in a season was set by LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006 with 31. And coincidentally, through 8 games that season, LaDainian Tomlinson also had 14 touchdowns. So Taylor is basically on the pace to challenge that record. LT had 2,323 yards that season, so slightly ahead of Jonathan Taylor's pace. Taylor is also leading the league in points right now with 86 points. The next 13 players are kickers. The number 2 running back has 54 points, so 9 touchdowns. He is 5 touchdowns ahead of anybody else this season. And just really overall, we talked about the Colts having they have the number 1 overall DVOA. They also have the number 1 offensive DVOA so far this season, number 1 offense in EPA per play. And a lot of that, Daniel Jones has been good, but really the reason the Colts are as good as they have been through 8 games this season is Jonathan Taylor has just been on another planet. He's plus 1,800 to win MVP right now. He's 5th in odds. And it just got me thinking, what in the year of our Lord 2025, what does a running back have to do to win MVP?
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're being honest right now, if the MVP award was an open and fair award that anyone could win, like Jonathan Taylor would be running away with that award right now.
Did
And happy accident.
Pun intended.
But instead, it is incredibly narrative driven and essentially restricted quarterbacks. Like, he might have to put up 40 touchdowns in order to actually win the MVP, which is...
Well, this is the thing. I was talking about Patrick Mahomes' pace earlier this year, or earlier this podcast. So if Taylor has 2,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, and the Colts are 14-3, and then Mahomes has 4,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, another 500 rushing yards, and 8 touchdowns, Mahomes is winning that award. Yeah. Even if the Chiefs win 11 games, say they win 3 less games than the Colts, Mahomes will win that award, and people will be like, and it'll be the whole narrative that I just went through earlier of y'all doubted Patrick Mahomes and said he wasn't the best quarterback in the league anymore, but look at him now. And they'll be like, oh, and Jonathan Taylor, offensive player of the year, golf clap for Jonathan Taylor. But this is the best offense in the NFL right now, statistically through 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And it is on JT that this team has been so successful. He had 153 yards and 3 touchdowns on 13 touches.
Yeah.
Against the Titans the other day. And I think that if he starts getting close to that record, that they will let him chase that.
Oh, yeah.
We're just going to do this on the pod every single week until the end of the year. Are the Colts good?
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Nobody will know until the playoffs. Who is your bold for week 8?
Karma. So the
love it when we get meta on the podcast.
So there's a couple of things here. I'll start with the one that was less fun for me, but I still think it's well deserved. Adam, you may have noticed that Justin Fields, especially over the last 4 weeks, has taken a lot of shit from a lot of fans. And man, did he need to play well in their first win. And he did. He ended up with an EPA plus 11 in that game. He was just good. And going back and looking at the tape, he looked a lot more comfortable. Bengals will do that to you, but good for him. Because seems like a good kid. Other side of karma. Man, was it fun to watch Aaron Rodgers be on the receiving end of all the shit that he has benefited from for years. It was hilarious to watch him get absolutely screwed over by the most obvious offsides I have ever seen. And the refs were just like, nah, it's good. Meanwhile, Jordan Love is on the other side doing the disingenuous, they'll get a PI. I'll just force the receiver to come back through the defender. Something Aaron Rodgers lived off of for many years. I never enjoy watching the Packers win, but honestly, that game is a lose-lose, win-win, no matter the outcome for me. And to watch Aaron Rodgers have the reckoning of all the shitty things that he's disingenuously, benefited from over the years, was chef's kiss.
The one thing I will say about that game is I really wanted Pittsburgh to lose for two reasons. One is because Pittsburgh's bad, and
Yeah.
I've been saying it for weeks after they beat my team. I'm like, that team is bad. I know in my soul that they're bad, and I need to see teams beat them. The other thing is like the jerseys that Pittsburgh wore on Sunday.
Who told anyone that this was a good idea?
If you're the Green Bay Packers, you cannot let someone beat you while wearing that. It's a matter of manhood. It's a matter of pride. You cannot get your ass kicked by someone wearing what the Pittsburgh Steelers were wearing on Sunday.
I would have just been like, I'm not putting this on. I will go out there without a jersey. I will put on my pads with no jersey and play shirtless.
I would have been a healthy scratch. I'm not wearing that shit on a football field. I turned the game on and I thought Green Bay was Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh was Green Bay because previously, it was
what were those pants?
Well, it was a competition. There was a previous competition of, we always talk about who has
the worst concepts ever?
Yes. And the two teams that had the worst jersey concepts ever were the Steelers Bumblebee Retros. Horrible. And then those Packers jerseys that are like blue and they have the yellow circle with the number on it. And they wear it's like a brown helmet that's supposed to simulate like an old leather helmet. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And the pants are tan. Though I was like, previously, you two are in competition for who could wear the worst jerseys. And the Steelers they're like, not a competition anymore, bitch. We win. No, it'll never be beat.
Shit?
It'll never be beat. In all of sports, I've never seen a jersey that horrific. And I'm like, I turned the game on and I saw it and I was like, you can't let someone wearing that kick your ass. I don't care if they're bigger than you. I don't care if they're stronger than you. I don't care if they're better at football than you are. You can't lose to someone who's wearing that. You absolutely can't. Or we're going to relegate you. Scolds. Was that everybody that all your karma you wanted to dish out? Okay. Scolds for week 8. I have a unique one. So my scold is Myles Garrett, the edge rusher for the Browns. And as Matt mentioned earlier, Myles Garrett sacked Drake May 5 times on Sunday, a Browns franchise record, a career high for probably the best player in the NFL, at least the best defensive player now that Aaron Donald is gone. Myles Garrett is just an absolute monster. Massive game for him on Sunday in a game that his team lost 30-13 to the New England Patriots. I want to take you all back to the offseason when Myles Garrett requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns and went as far as to write a letter to the fans of the Cleveland Browns saying, my goal was never, and this is a quote from the letter. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. The goal was always to compete for Super Bowls, and I cannot do that here. So I have requested a trade. And then the Browns were like, what if we paid you an absolute metric shit ton of money? And he said, okay, I'll stay. On Sunday, they cut to Myles Garrett smashing his helmet against the bench after the Patriots' 4th touchdown. When the Patriots went up 30-17. He was throwing a fit on the sideline, smashing his helmet, absolutely furious, yelling at everybody. Myles Garrett, what did you think was going to happen when you signed the extension? You are the one that said, I have to leave here because no matter how good I am, we can't win. And you were absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I truly am baffled by this reaction of him to be surprised that his team is losing even though he's playing an incredible game. Yeah, he's like, oh no, He's like, this is what I sowed. Now I'm reaping it. Ah, God. The bridge that I said we would cross when we come to it is here, and now I'm shocked. Like, the consequences of my actions have caught up with me, and I didn't think I'd ever have to face them.
I can't believe that we're losing on the team that I said I wanted to leave because all they did is lose.
It was truly stunning to me. I was sitting there and I was like, what did you expect? You said this. Did you think like drafting 7 quarterbacks and signing Joe Flacco was like, hey, we're going to win now? Like, that's what'll happen. We have a quarterback room that consists of Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel. That'll be good enough. Like, I was truly baffled on Sunday by his reaction. It's like he didn't expect it. You're the Browns. How didn't you expect it? You should just always expect to lose. Yeah. I'm so glad we don't have to play him again, though, and that he's not on a good team, because holy shit, is he awesome.
He's a nightmare.
Oh, my God. We were like triple teaming him at points that game, and he was just like, nope. Here's a sack. Who is your scold for week 8?
Well, you kind of already know who it is, but as I pondered on it more, who is really to blame for this? I would say God. It is God's fault that we have the Atlanta Falcons. Because
at first I was like, it's a bold move to scold God, and then I was like, no, he deserves it. He deserves this one.
Like, I am so done with anything pertaining to that franchise. No one can ever hype that franchise ever again, because all I have seen over the last 10 years is failure, and there is no excuse for heading into this game against the Miami Dolphins to have lost that game, given the position that the Dolphins were in, and just like the way they even matched up with the Dolphins. Like, that should have been a massive Bijan Robinson game. And like, not only did they lose, they got mollywopped. Like, they got destroyed that entire game. And maybe I could have just brushed it off if they had just lost. But for me to check the score and see them down by like 3 scores in the third quarter, like, that is truly just tanking your season at that point, because they were already behind the 8 ball. It was a game you had to win. It was a winnable game, and you put up one of your worst performances of the year.
Yeah, I truly am at a loss for words for the Atlanta Falcons. I have a long and sordid history with the Atlanta Falcons on this podcast, but I think Sunday was it for me with the Falcons, like, moving forward. I think they're just like a complete stay away from here on out. Like, betting on them, betting against them. Yeah. We're going to talk about the eliminator pool pick. Mm-hmm. I don't want anything Falcons. I have Bijan Robinson on my fantasy team still.
I will not entertain
that was disappointing.
A Falcons conversation until after they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be a couple of decades.
I think that's fair. We might never talk about the Atlanta Falcons on this podcast ever again. Or they'll make the playoffs this year.
Yeah. Like, there's kind of no in between on those two options.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is the thing about the Falcons is, like, when you're super hyping them up, they do this. And then after they do this, they're going to beat the Patriots on Sunday. Like, Bijan Robinson's going to have 250 yards and whatever. But, like, I can't do anything with them ever again. This is truly you know what? I've always said with the Falcons, they're like my Brokeback Mountain team. I wish I knew how to quit them, and I found out how to quit them, and it's a 34-10 loss to the Miami Dolphins on Sunday. And I was playing the team that was in first place on our fantasy football matchup this week, the team that's in first place in our league. And I knew my week was going to be bad because I started Quentin Johnston on Thursday night instead of Kamani Vidal. And Vidal had 20 points and Johnston got 0 targets the entire game for the first time in his career and put up a whopping 0. I was like, this is going to be bad, but at least I have Bijan. He might save me. Nope. Like, in the absolute smashiest of smash spots, the Falcons got reverse Uno card and got smashed. And I'm making the pledge right now, Matt. I am never picking the Falcons to do anything ever again on this podcast. That's it for me.
We'll test that again in August.
Yeah, call me next year, baby. All right, Eliminator pool pick, the last segment here. Brutal week for the Eliminator pool. Absolutely gut-wrenching. 57.32% advance. So about 43% eliminated. We are down to 5,695 contestants. We started with over 120,000, and we are below 6, and we're just not even halfway through the season yet. We got to pick 18 weeks. Most popular incorrect pick, the aforementioned Atlanta Falcons with 27% of the pool. Bengals also accounted for 15%. I know that I'm going to say this and then we're going to lose this week. But I just want to say that if this is the last week for us, that this segment has been absolutely goated for like 4 weeks in a row now, where we've not only given you a safe, correct pick, but we've also told you every single week for 4 straight weeks who the biggest incorrect pick is going to be ahead of time. Because last week we said we're not doing Falcons in Miami and we're not doing Bengals Jets, and those were the 2 worst picks last week. Like, goated segment here. We had the Colts, who absolutely hammered the Titans. It's a little bit harder this week, but we have a couple of options. We have one that I think might just be my new standby. We have the Patriots at home for the Falcons. We have Green Bay at home for Carolina. Or we have the Chargers on the road at the Tennessee Titans. And Matt, my proposal to you is we continue to ride the train and just keep picking against the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
They're so fucking bad. And I know, like, Chargers going to charge, right? And they had Slater get injured and all this other shit, but, like, Orante Gadsden, the emergence of him as their tight end, he just, like, basically is prime Antonio Gates now as a rookie. He's awesome. Vidal has been better, like, the last couple of weeks than Omari and Hampton was at all at any point this season. So they're fully capable of laying the smackdown on Tennessee this weekend. I think what we do is just pick against Tennessee. And the only problem there is it leaves us vulnerable next week because Tennessee's on a bye. I know I shouldn't do. We're going to lose this week. We are going to lose this week because I'm going to say this on the podcast. But I started looking ahead to next week already because I was like, look, Chargers over Titans. We're fine. Next week's going to be really difficult for us based on who we've picked so far and what games there are available. So God help us, but we good with Chargers over Titans this week?
Yeah, I'm good with that one, especially because Joe Alt is back now, right?
Yeah, he played against Minnesota, and they mollywop Minnesota.
Yeah.
On Thursday, I was going to say, originally I was like, oh, maybe Patriots over Falcons because we were just talking about the Falcons. But what would make for funnier content on this podcast than the Falcons beating the Patriots and that being the pick that knocked us out of the eliminator pool in week 9? Like there is no funnier thing that could happen on this podcast.
That's peak comedy, honestly.
That is. I really hope we don't lose to them this weekend because I will be miserable. The Patriots we've played 8 games and we have not allowed a running back to gain 50 yards rushing against us. It's like the first time that's happened since like 1940. So like the run defense has been incredible, and they're going to get tested this weekend with Bijan Robinson, I think, who's going to want to go ham after what happened to him last week against Miami. But that is it for us. As always, Fouled Out can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Overcast, anywhere you get your podcast. You can hit us up on Gmail, fouledoutsports@gmail.com, and you can watch the podcast and all of our shorts on YouTube, just YouTube Fouled Out Sports. If you haven't done it yet, go on YouTube, like and subscribe to the channel. Help us grow that there. You can see me and Matt on video every week. It's been growing pretty good. Getting some hits on YouTube. People are liking it, so go check that out. Matt, new segment. Real quick, before we sign off every week, one NBA take from each of us every week. What is your NBA take of the week?
I mean, I think right now my NBA take is Adam Silver is absolutely going to find a way to give the Boston Celtics the number 1 overall pick. The way they tore down that roster, even though Jason Tatum, while I don't really believe he would pull it off, was claiming he was going to come back and play later this year. They put themselves in a situation where there ain't much left in the cupboard other than those 2 guys the following year. So, what's making you feel so good about all that?
Even if they just get a top 3 pick in this draft, though, like this draft class is so loaded.
Yeah.
For the NBA. So you have Cameron Boozer, Carlos Boozer's son at Duke. You have AJ DeBansta, who is fucking awesome. And then Darren Peterson or Pedersen, however you say his last name, at Kansas. Like those 3 make up a absolutely incredible big 3 at the top of the draft. And there's a lot of guys throughout, but Boozer or DeBansta would be such a windfall for the Celtics after like their starting, like looking at their starting line, the big guys on their team, adding one of those dudes to pair with Brown and Tatum, I could absolutely see the cold envelope going in. Yeah. As we all know, the lottery is 100% rigged.
And I mean, honestly, that team is bad enough that they will probably be towards the top of the lottery anyways. So
yeah, it's not great. There's still plus odds to miss the playoffs. I think you can get them like plus 116 right now to miss the playoffs. I
might throw everything at that.
I know. My NBA take of the week this week is I'm just going to take my victory lap on VJ Edgecombe already. It's been like 3 or 4 games. He's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
It immediately scores 34 points in his rookie debut, the most ever from a rookie debut. And just every single night, it's like 28-9, 28-7. So I went back and listened to our draft podcast because I was like, God, I really liked him coming in, and I wanted to listen to my takes on it to kind of see how hard I went on it on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And I went really hard on VJ Edgecombe, where we did a podcast where it was like, hey, these are like our top 3 guys we like in the draft, and VJ was my number 1. And I even talked about potentially the Spurs taking him over Dylan Harper, who Harper's been really good so far too. Mm-hmm. But man, like my big thing on Edgecombe was the athleticism and the fact that he, like day one, he was going to be in the top 5% of all NBA athletes in terms of just pure athleticism. And I was like, when Anthony Edwards was coming out, nobody really knew what he was going to be, but the athleticism was off the charts. And it was like, you know what, take a chance on that guy. VJ Edgecombe is like just that dude already. Like not that he's Ant right now, but like he's been so good already. And like all the athleticism, the speed, the jumping, like all the stuff I talked about is on full display. So I'm just like, yep, we did it.
Yep.
So
him and Maxi are going to be nasty together.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talked about that when we did the live draft pod, is I was like, we logged on for the third pick and I was like, listen, fuck Embiid, fuck Paul George. Just ride it out with those guys. Draft Edgecombe, because they were talking about trading that pick away to get rid of Paul George's albatross contract. I was like, draft Edgecombe, have Maxi Edgecombe and Jared McCain off the bench for the next, 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is. Like that is something to be excited about for the 76ers. All you got to do is get through the end of the Embiid Paul George era, which is going to take a little while. But all right, we got World Series Game 4 going on right now. The Blue Jays are up 3-1. 3-1, the end of the fourth. So I'm going to go check that out.
Yep.
Everybody enjoy the games.
Finishing up, beating up on the Magic.
Kings are about to lose to the Bulls. Oh, yeah. NBA's in full. You know what's hilarious? I guess real quick before we say goodbye.
Yeah.
It's been 4 games, and the NBA trade machine post are just all over our Kings already. Like, what can we get for Schroeder? What can we get for Monk? What do you guys think Sabonis is worth? The answer is nothing. You'll get nothing, and you'll like it. You're a Kings fan. You have to live with this forever. Forever. It's like a
stupid bitch. You haven't thought of the smell.
It's like Harry Potter's like lightning bolt thing from fighting Voldemort. Is like, this marks who you are for the rest of your life. Everywhere you go, people will know you're a Kings fan, and you're going to watch this shitty ass team for 82 games this season. And then they're going to get the 7th pick in an absolutely loaded draft and not get anybody good. And we're going to suck next year. And then we're going to suck the year after. And we're going to suck the year after that, because we're the goddamn Sacramento Kings. And if you don't like sucking ass, you don't like Kings basketball, baby. Let's go. We're never going to do anything smart like trade guys away for assets. That would be too smart for Sacramento. But with that said, I will see you next week for midseason awards and biggest takeaways from the first half of the NFL season.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye,
Mom.
Robin.